Sue, good morning.
Morning.
How are you this morning?
Well, a bit damp like everyone else.
Yeah. And this is why we love and welcome to the Cosmic Echoes, so we can kind of move a little bit out and into where we are, I suppose, in the bigger scheme of things to
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's a funny old world at the moment, Michelle, isn't it? Oh my gosh.
It is. We say this every month, I think, but it's almost like it progresses as we move along.
Well, I do feel that we're on the brink of something potentially extremely unpleasant. So it
Mm,
really is a situation of just holding our own space,
mm,
finding a way to build an inner strength and inner resilience to deal with fear in the
yeah,
zeitgeist. There's a lot of fear going on at the moment,
yeah.
and I think it's interesting that we have to watch from afar.
Yes,
And we're
and to build our tribe and to have our people with us because I don't think we can do this alone.
definitely not. It's
Yeah,
scary stuff now.
yeah,
Yes, and I think it's for me, it's being complicit in something I didn't agree to.
mm,
The huge aggression that's going on at the moment and the escalation of that aggression.
yeah. And there's a lot of anger for me in that,
Yeah.
because I feel so powerless
Yes.
in watching this all happen. And as you say, I didn't agree to this.
No. And I think it's how to deal with that sense of helplessness and
Mm,
hopelessness that things are escalating and as you know and we have to just we have no other choice but apart from to witness that.
and
Mm.
to speak out, to speak our truth. We've
Yeah.
had this theme in the Wisdom Seekers this month around being heard. We're now recording at the end of September, so we're kind of moving over to something else. And it was interesting for me to really connect with that in what am I saying? Is this my voice or am I being influenced by
Interesting.
trying to be heard? Because we change our voice according to our audience sometimes, which
Yes.
removes us from ourselves, which isn't always the best for the psyche, for the
Yes.
bigger.
Or we're saying things that it's not our truth because
Mm,
we want to fit in. We want,
exactly.
and we put the mask on, don't we? And
Yeah.
I might have said this before, I can't remember if I have or not, but Elizabeth Cooper-Ross was one of my very
Yeah.
early teachers. And she taught us this truth technique.
Mm,
If your mouth and your heart are saying the same thing,
mm,
you're walking your truth. But if your mouth and your mouth is saying one thing and your heart is saying the other, or your heart is saying one thing and your mouth is saying the other, that's not the path of truth. So it's awkward and it feels difficult, and it's not your truth, but your things are coming out of your mouth that are not authentic.
mm.
And
And there's also a lot there in, do you really connect with your heart? Because we're in this fast paced, you just got to be productive and you're going to have to do all this stuff, and we've disconnected. So there's quite a lot in practice, in how do we practice that heart connection for ourselves, not to be in, doing the right meditation or practicing the right yoga moves or, whatever it is, but to really connect with what do I need to connect to my truth.
which perfectly leads us into the new moon in October because it's in Libra.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I think this is a really important new moon. It's on the 2nd of October, it's going to be happening.
Hmm.
And it's around about 8 o'clock in the evening, our time.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting for me, the new moon sits on, because it's the eclipse.
Mm.
It's not a it's only a partial eclipse, so and we won't be able to see any of it really from here. Apparently, the place to go and see it, according to Penny Thornton, is Easter Island. So off we all go. So and apparently it's a long eclipse. It's going to be about 7 minutes long. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this plays out because it's the new moon sits on the south node. Now, the south node in a chart is about it's the place where we release the past, where things don't serve us anymore, where we've learned the lessons that the south node brings for us, and we just go, actually, thank you very much, but this is it. That doesn't serve me, and I'm needing to evolve into something new, and that's the North Node. So
Mm.
it's a very interesting one because it's also the new moon and the South Node sit next door to Mercury. So Mercury in Libra is very much involved. Now, Mercury in Libra is the diplomat. Mercury has the art of conversation, and it's squaring Uranus. So Uranus is shocks and surprises. So I do feel around this new moon, there's something going to be playing out around lies, deceit, some more and more stuff coming to light, I think. I mean, the whole Harrods scandal has been really interesting, hasn't it?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't watch the news, so you're gonna have to give me a
Oh,
quick.
okay. So Al
Yeah.
Fayed, who owned Harrods,
Yeah.
it was realized basically it was his sexual playground.
Oh my word.
So it's a huge scandal at the moment that's coming out, and I feel like there's more and more of these exposes of I mean, he's dead now, obviously, so
Yeah.
he personally can't be held accountable.
Mm.
But it's an enormous scandal
Mm.
of the rich. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why he never got prosecuted. And
Yeah.
hundreds of women have come forward.
And
Hundreds.
and this happened now quite recent in
Well,
this
it
week.
happened over the
I mean,
time.
I mean, sorry, it came out quite recently.
Literally this year, this week. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
obviously, people have known about it, but the expose, the BBC did the expose this week. Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
And
God.
and so I mean Libra is the scales.
Well, Libra's lovely. It's traditionally associated with relationships.
Yeah.
That's what Libra is a cardinal air. It
Mm.
reaches out for relationship. But it's
Mm.
also because it's Libra, Libra is about balance. It's about the law. So it's interesting that things are coming up to do
Yeah.
with the balance and law and what's right and what's wrong. I
Yeah.
find that very interesting that's coming up around this new moon. But Libra wants harmony. It says, how can I bring these two opposing sides together that we
Mm.
can work together? Libra loves to work with people. It loves being in partnership. It loves relating. That's what it does.
Yeah.
That's what it does. So but it can be also very connected to politics, agreements.
Mm.
So, and it's ruled by Venus, and Venus, she loves harmony and balance. She's
Yeah.
a peacemaker. So
Yeah.
people with very strong Libra in their chart can be diplomats,
Yeah.
either locally or on the world scale, especially with Mercury in Libra.
So we now, just to kind of put us in place,
Yeah.
we're in this in between the eclipses. So we had the um annular
Yes.
lunar eclipse in Pisces, but on the North Node.
Yes, that's right.
And now we're moving into
The
uh,
new moon.
the new moon, but the solar eclipse,
Yes, that's
and
right.
that's in Libra.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So what's our theme there? What?
Well, again, it's Libra. As I was saying,
Yeah.
it's all about balance and harmony, but it's also about legal issues. It's about the law. It's about agreements. So,
Mm.
and Libra, as I said, Libra wants to have it wants peace, it wants harmony, but there's
Mm.
a lot of stuff going on around the world. It could be, it may be that we do see, I mean, Netanyahu is going to be speaking at the UN, I think it's today.
Okay.
So everybody's saying, please don't escalate this very, very vulnerable time. And the Lebanese are in a desperate state.
Oh, it's horrible what's
So,
happening. Yeah.
it's let's hope that this new moon brings a kind of release of the aggression, the
Mm.
easing of aggression. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, because you've got to have people to sign up. In a relationship, both of you have got to sign up and say, I'm in.
Yeah.
One of you doesn't, the relationship doesn't work. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. And Mercury being, I was actually researching where Mercury was this week because I
Yeah.
was feeling this so strong as to communication, as to people not saying or doing as they, as they promised, or as they,
Yes.
things not looking or being the way that they look, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it's interesting for me that you say Mercury is in Libra, then Mercury is also communication connected to
Yeah.
Hermes, which was the messenger god,
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he's a psychopomp.
yeah,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
I think the other thing interesting in the chart is that Mars, the Lord of War, is
Mm,
squaring this new moon.
exactly,
We've
yeah.
got Venus in Scorpio, which Mars rules. So
Mm,
Mars is also very much in the picture. Mars in Cancer is highly, highly protective of its own. It can be protective of its own family
mm,
only,
mm,
or it can be protective literally of its homelands. It's Cancer is all about home, roots,
mm,
family. You've got the Lord of War in there.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's that it's squaring this new moon. So there's a lot of aggression knocking about, and also Venus in Scorpio is passionately obsessive.
Mm,
Two water signs, so I don't know. I think we've got more to go, unfortunately. And I think what this is inviting us on a personal level to do, especially with Venus and Scorpio, is to look at any obsessions or unhealthy relationships we have, any controlling issues we have. Um, you know, are you, are you willing to own your own control issues, or do you feel controlled? Are you in the victor, persecutor, rescuer triangle in your relationship? If you are, do you know what? You need to look at it.
yeah. I heard, I was listening to something this week and it kind of really hit home, that this form of us is just a manifestation of a field. So, maybe to also experience this field that we either attract or push away what belongs to us, that, what we need to be and have in our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we have to, I mean, everything depends on relationship. Everything.
Mm,
If you think about how we survive in this world, it's through relationships.
mm,
If we're at war in our relationships, we're deeply traumatized, unhappy people because we can't allow love in. And for me, it's all about, the love of somebody else, but also the love of something greater. But if
yeah.
you're totally obsessed with fighting in your relationship, or the stony silence where
Yeah.
neither of you grow,
Mm,
that's not expressing your higher self, or
yeah.
the higher self of your relationship.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great time, because if you think what's playing out in the world with the wars that we're witnessing, love is not very present.
No, and you know, some of it that's happened this week was not even, it was preemptive of something that could have happened, or you know, and suddenly there's complete devastation, you know, because of choices being made.
Yeah.
Um, and yet there are none of these delicate dialogues are happening. No one is going, how do we suspend our judgment and really listen and absorb each other as having a voice?
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, I think we have to look at everything as I look at it symbolically, what's happening,
Yeah.
particularly in the wars that were observed, the
Hmm.
two major wars. I mean, I know there's so many other wars
Yeah.
going on around the world, but I'm not informed about them. But the
Yeah.
ones I'm witnessing, it's, there's always a persecutor, and it's a persecutor rescuer.
Yeah.
It's in the triangle, persecutor
Yeah.
rescuer, um, thing, a victim.
Hmm.
Uh, it's good to see what they symbolize in ourselves.
Yeah.
Reflect it. Are you one of the people in relationships that bash people over the head? Are
Yeah.
you the victim of that? And if so, it's time to do some work on it. And
Yeah.
this new moon being in the South Node is
Hmm.
asking us to do that. South Node,
Yeah.
letting things go that don't serve us in our relationships.
And I mean, we can see it being in autumn in the northern hemisphere. It's also kind of, you know, the and nature is showing us this as well, as to kind of how do we let go and become restful, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And well, it's how do we find balance? How do we find harmony? And do you know what? We're not good at it. We human beings, if you think of the history of humanity, we've
Mm.
fought our way to this point.
Yeah, yeah. Because we've never seen ourselves in the other.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
it's this sense of duality, isn't it?
yeah.
It's beginning to shift. And there are people who are really taking on board that we all come from the same source.
Mm.
Therefore, inverted commas, we're all one. But really, we incarnate into this physical body as an individual,
Yeah,
separate.
yeah.
And the big learning is, how do I, in my physical separateness, open my heart to others?
Yeah. And that's that whole individuation as well. You know, first I need to find myself and be myself so that I can be part of the bigger. And this is the theme as well with Pluto kind of finishing up. We've got a month and a
Yeah,
half about left of
yeah.
Pluto and Capricorn. Um and yeah, it's an interesting um time. Obviously, we also have a little second moon, they call it, but it's
I
tiny.
know, isn't it cute? It's not going to be
Very
for
cute.
long, but it's like, hello, baby.
Yeah. And he's going to join us until the 25th of November. So
Yeah, that's
that's gonna
adorable. And
it's
I
very
mean,
cute.
isn't that the universe bringing us a little bit of magic to say, you know
Exactly.
what, look
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
this incredible magic is happening around you.
Yeah.
And you've got an opportunity of this gift for just a few weeks.
Yeah.
Just be back in awe,
Yeah. Exactly.
something greater than us.
Yeah. And it also kind of shows me that we don't know everything. You know, we make do a lot of things on the basis that we think we know, but we don't know, you know, what is possible, what is going to happen. We use tools or, you know, structures like astrology that can kind of give us a little bit of a map,
Yes.
but it can still play out however it plays out. Um,
Yes,
mm,
yes. I think what's interesting for me is Pluto is retrograde at the
yeah,
moment at 29 degrees.
yeah,
And I don't think things are going to even begin to resolve until he moves out of Capricorn
mm,
into Aquarius. And I'm praying that that will be the big shift. So he goes into Aquarius around about October the 12th. He goes
yeah.
direct. He goes
Oh,
right
okay, yes,
on the 12th. And it
yeah.
may be then it begins to shift,
Okay.
but he comes out of Capricorn in
November
November.
19th.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 19th of November. My birthday is right
Oh,
in the middle
wow.
there. So
Birthday present.
it's on the 24th, but so on
Yeah.
the 19th it goes into Aquarius, and on the 25th, what do they call this little moon? It's actually, it's an asteroid that we're calling a
Yes.
moon, that moves out on the 25th. So it's kind of a cool little
Yeah. Isn't that a
space.
great birthday present? Just to
Yeah.
say to everyone that um, Capricorn at 29 degrees. 29 degrees is called the Araretic degree in astrology, and it's an incredibly intense degree. And any planet that you have at 29 degrees in your chart, and this is also about Pluto,
Mm.
brings up the most intense experiences of that sign. It's almost like you're kind of finishing off with a kind of boom when you have a planet at 29 degrees. So
Yeah.
it's all sorts of stuff are going to come up for us globally
Mm.
with Pluto at 29 degrees. And I think this is why the intensity
Mm.
of the wars are upgrading, if you
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because it's all about around patriarchy. It's all around and maybe structures collapsing. I mean, everything is collapsing around us
Yeah.
anyway. And it may be more earthquakes, things like that. I mean, huge companies have been
Mm.
going down, mega wealthy people like Al Fayed,
Mm.
their reputation is shattered now.
Yeah.
Um, Politics, government. I think there's something like, I'm not sure if this is absolutely accurate, something like 40 countries this year have been voting for
Mm.
their new
Yeah.
government. So it's and there's fracturing, there's far rights, far lefts.
Mm.
So and Pluto is just bringing all that stuff up, saying this is what
Yeah.
we look at before we go into Aquarius, and
Yeah.
it's come back in there for one more go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes,
Which is good.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
then yeah, then we kind of move. The moon is, I think, full on the 17th of October, and it's in
yes, yes,
Aries.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
I'm just going to get that up. Yes. So so the sun obviously is still in Libra, but the
Yeah.
moon now is whizzed around into Aries opposite Libra.
Yeah.
So Aries, oh gosh, Aries is such it's the baby of the zodiac. It's the pioneering spirit, it's the young spirit, it's 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 that sense of going out there. It's cardinal fire.
Yeah.
So there is more to come, I think, around this. But what's interesting for me is the moon in Aries opposite the sun is conjunct Chiron. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer, and
Yeah.
it's also it's going to be called. It is known as I think it's the last super moon. There've been four super moons in a row this year, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
It's a supermoon is when the moon is nearest, inverted commas, to the earth.
Mm.
So, and it's also called the hunter's moon, which I think is lovely because the hunter's moon traditionally follows the harvest moon, which we had
Yeah.
last month. And it originates from Native American Indian hunters preparing to go off and do the kill
Mm.
to prepare for the upcoming cold winters.
Mm.
And I find kind of when you sort of step back into history and actually look at how we survived by the moons, I
Yeah.
just think it's absolutely beautiful. It's also known as the sanguine or blood moon,
Mm.
and the blood coming from the color of the turning of the leaves. So
Yeah. Interesting.
it's beautiful imagery, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we've got this pokey stuff going on.
Yeah.
And
Which
go on.
helps us, be present, I suppose.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think Well, we've got Mars. Mars is still in Mars is still in Cancer
And so,
and will be for quite a while. Oh yes. So it's kind of a really good opportunity. Aries is about me.
mm,
Libra is about us. Aries is about me. And there's a wound here because of Chiron.
mm,
And when you have Chiron and Aries in your chart, it means it's the wound of I am. It's the wound of I'm not quite sure who I am. And the journey is
mm,
to find that self,
mm,
to separate out from the we into me, but to do it with great respect to the we. It's not about,
yeah,
it's not about fighting the we, it's about
yeah,
actually going, oh, this is who I am within this relationship. I'm
mm,
not, I'm not, I'm not somebody else in this relationship. So
yeah,
I would say very strongly that this full moon is really about how looking at the role you take in the family.
mm,
It could be also this sense with Chiron there, fighting for a cause, fighting of or the underdog. It's all of that kind of vibe, particularly with Mars in uh,
yeah.
Cancer. And and Mars in Cancer stays there for a very long time. It doesn't leave until the end of February, actually. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
And
it's a
that's all protecting what's mine,
absolute,
home. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I think it's about collectively
mm,
these moons, Libra, the new moon in Libra. Now we've
yeah,
got the full moon in Aries. It is it's the axis of relationship.
me
Me,
and us.
us,
Yeah,
and we and us need to learn to work together a lot more than we're doing. So I think
yeah,
it's about, I would just invite people to really think about what family means to them.
mm,
How are you willing to protect your family, or do you overprotect your family?
mm,
Do you feel, you know, are you struggling with where you are and where
mm.
you live at the moment? Is this your homeland? And people are being displaced from their homelands all over the place. And
Yeah,
what is dear to you?
yeah.
What is
And
dear to
family can have a bigger thing about it as well. Who's my
you?
tribe? Who's my, you
Yeah,
know, my people?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it may be that this is a time where you feel like, do you know what's happening around me doesn't work anymore for me. So I
Mhm.
need to think about what tribe is to me. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that again is being shown to us
Mm,
through the two wars that are
yeah.
so present in our media at the moment,
Yeah.
because they're inverted commas fighting for their homeland. But what are they
Yeah.
really fighting for?
Exactly. Is it dogma? Is it paradigms that maybe need to be shifted as to do we see each other? Is always my question. Um,
It's separatism, isn't it? I'm
mm,
right, right, you're wrong. So,
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not talk to each other. Boom.
Yeah.
And that plays out in our personal relationships as well.
Yeah, because
Right.
we're always trying to show that, instead of opening, and I'm fascinated with dialogue and how we can invite that in silence sometimes, just to be
Yeah.
that intimacy of silence is how do we really experience each other as human manifestations of an energy, instead of I'm right and you wrong and us and them.
Just for anybody who'd be interested, it's listening skills are vital now.
Yeah.
We've never been taught to listen. We've been taught to, but we've never been taught to sit back and
Mm,
receive and hear what somebody's saying. And it's a skill.
yeah.
And on my podcast, Embracing Your Mortality, and I'll put a link below this, I did a podcast with a wonderful woman who specializes, Ruth, she's called Ruth,
Mm,
in listening skills. So if anybody's interested, and in there we talk about how to develop good listening skills and techniques that you can use to take a breath
Mm.
and sit with what somebody is really saying to you, and to reflect that back to them so they also feel heard.
Yeah.
And then it's your turn.
Yeah.
So there are different techniques to develop about good listening skills, and I think they're essential this month.
Oh, definitely. And this is something we also been playing with, or not playing with, dialogue from a David Bohm's perspective as to how do we have an authentic voice? How do we suspend judgment? How do we stay curious? Um, we also had a Johnny Dury coming in, and we did the smell of silence. I love the smell of silence in the morning is was the theme. I've also put it on YouTube on the Wisdom Seekers. And it's very much, how do we embrace a little bit more stillness and silence so that we can not only hear ourselves think, because there's that internal dialogue, but also really share the meaning with each other instead of words, because words have become tricky. They're loaded. They are, don't have the same meanings for all of us. So yeah.
Yeah. And you listen, when you listen with your heart,
Mm.
you're listening with your heart. When you're listening with your head, you're thinking.
Yeah.
You're thinking what you want to say next, or you
Yeah.
want the quick quip to put
Yeah.
somebody else down, or all of that games in your head that you play.
Mm.
And I love and I'll put we'll put the link down for what you've done as well, but
Yeah.
below this
Yeah.
video.
Yeah. I think it's going to be, as always, an interesting, reflective. Our theme, I think, is really to to connect to self and find our tribe and um, I suppose grounding is always such a, go outside, walk on the grass, take your shoes off, and just feel your physical body connecting to the earth sometimes is quite powerful.
Yeah, and pray for peace.
Mm. And be peace, don't fight, yeah, each other. Maybe suspend that judgment
Yeah,
and try and see what needs to be heard, or what people want to be seen. They want to feel belonging. Um, and we have that innate power to just see each other. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank
Righty
you, Sue.
ho. Until next month.
Until next month. I look forward to it.
Me too.